Oh boy, okay. So, I usually do lives every weekend. Hi! Yay! I see some familiar usernames already. So, on tonight, I'm going to be on for about 2 hours, talking about past life regression. Hi! Okay. Talking about past life regression, talking about sessions, a lot of fresh sessions that are in my mind. I like to talk about at the end of the week. To kind of give myself a recap and I give really good examples of like all these different connections to our past lives and how they affect our life now. So I'm ready to answer any questions. You can just leave them in the comments. Sometimes I get a little bit behind on questions. So if you're new here, my name is Mallorie. I'm a past life regression therapist. I take people to their past life experiences to work through karmic issues from past lives that are bleeding into their current lives. The number one reason people come to see me is really about past life purpose, meaning that applies to their current life. I deal with a lot of people that have relationship issues, health issues, current like karmic partners or karmic relationships. So we dive into like all of these different aspects of like the kind of pre-life plan and why you can set up certain circumstances to happen. We talk a lot about, sometimes in these lives, we talk a lot about like extra like interplanetary regressions, which is like ETs, extraterrestrials, stuff like that, because sometimes my work does encompass some regressions to other planets. So hi, Shelly. So yeah, I'm open to any and all questions about anything related to like the metaphysical world. I'm not a psychic or a medium, so I'm not going to read anybody on here. Although my intuition does play a very important part in the sessions that I do. So yes, all in all, it's going to be a fun night. I'm going to be on for about 2 hours, as I said, and any questions I'm happy to answer. That's so funny. Yeah, so it's really funny because whenever someone is from a different planet, which I like to call a star seed, for lack of a better word, I call them star seeds. It's basically where there is an energy that incarnates into a human body after existing on other planets before. There is a symbol that kind of happens for me when I know that this person is, a star seed or an energy. They'll often visit the stars and they'll be in space for, a little bit of time. And this person said, yeah, the only time that they smiled during the regression was when they were an alien up in the stars. And so it's interesting because there's a lot of different places you can go to, and I have been taken to some wild experiences that were above Earth, so like as vibrationally speaking, not in the third dimension, but in the fourth or the fifth or even the sixth, where there are other planets that exist. Like I went to a planet with someone where all of the members of this planet were female. And they had feminine energy. And this was an in-between space that this being had gone to have feminine energy healing. It was a very bluish purple hues, and they were describing what it felt like to be there and how they recognized a lot of the beings there. Very interesting. So it's not just limited to like, places like Earth. There are so many unique planets that have their own rules and laws. And what I mean by laws, like set of principles you sign up for before you come. And you can also visit these places in a vibrational sense. So when you're not incarnated in a physical body, you could still visit those places. Very interesting. I feel very heavy here on Earth. Really quick, if you're interested in this whole extraterrestrial conversation, really quick little tidbit of like information that almost across the board, the star seeds that incarnate into human bodies will recall the most traumatic event really happening to them, or like just a really traumatic event that sticks with them as far as being in a human body is concerned. And it's always their birth. They have a really tough time coming into this 3D reality. It's very, very overwhelming. So the birth will be a very jarring experience for them, and it's universally across the board, like going through like a coming into this planet, they're like, oh no, did I just make a mistake? Like this kind of sucks. It kind of sucks being here. Everything feels really different than what I'm used to. Oh, thank you, Heather. That was so sweet. So Oh my goodness. So this person is talking about that there was a weird like tether problem as they were being born. Okay, so really quickly, also this kind of applies to when you are, so this is not necessarily the birth, but when the consciousness, the energy, the non-physical energy binds to the fetus in the womb, there could be a miswiring, maybe is a good word to use, that happens when the energies are coming together. Because what ends up happening is like the people that I work with then describe what it feels like to be in their other bodies or their light bodies, and they feel very limited by a human body, which I think is a really interesting thing to hear. I had someone very recently, actually, this was in the last couple of weeks, tell me, I feel so vital and alive. And this, she was talking about her frog humanoid body. So I've regressed a lot of people to a lot of different ET bodies, and a frog humanoid body is a pretty common one that we will go to. I believe that this like race or species exists on Sirius B, but this person was able to move in any direction quite easily and with agility. And this was a really hard thing to translate into a human body. So this person has an abundance of energy in the body that they physically are unable to express. It's a very hard thing to put into context when maybe, you know, for myself, I feel very comfortable in my physical body and how my physical body moves. I couldn't imagine feeling very limited by how I can move. It's a little bit of an unfamiliar feeling for me, but to hear someone else say it, that I'm so adept at movement in this body, but then as a human, I feel very limited. It's such a strange, it's a strange thing to hear, but it's kind of like a universal thing. Same thing when it comes to the mental mind. So this, once again, this miswiring can account for certain people even experiencing neurodivergency. There are a lot of people who are starseeds that are experiencing neurodivergency in human bodies. And it's just kind of a miswiring and a limitation of the mental mind. They say, I am so limited by my mind. I'm limited by my ability to be spiritual and to connect energetically. Because also keep in mind, on other planets, they do not really communicate through spoken language. They communicate through energy and through telepathic means. So what you are putting out into the world and how you present yourself is what people receive. And deception is very, very hard in those societies because everything is broadcasted through your energetic aura, and they're picking up on that, and they're just reading you, and they're like basically reading your thoughts and what you can, you know, say and mean and do and feel. So very interesting. Hi, Henry. Do we have multiple purposes in our current physical experience? So really good question. You do, actually. So there's a little bit of a false understanding or a misconception even. Alexa, living room light on. Oh, that was weird. It didn't turn on. Alexa, lamp on. There we go. Okay. So there's a little bit of misconception about about life purpose, and that you have to have this one reason for being, and that's why you incarnated here, and that's why you're coming to Earth. And that's not the case. So you could have multiple means of having purpose or meaning in your life. You could have a specific contract that you're fulfilling with another person that would put this life really, you know, it's a significant life to work out a certain amount of karma with someone else. You could also have a purpose and intent to fulfill a self-soul contract in this life, meaning in a past life you didn't learn something, or maybe you accrued karma in a way that made you believe something false about yourself or the world or other people, that you're assigning a self-soul contract saying, I want to experience this event or this circumstance that elicits a feeling inside of me that needs to be healed, and then this life is the opportunity to do that. And so I also want to like contextualize it as in, you don't have to have these master plans of coming to Earth and completing, you know, a space mission and becoming a doctor, or just like, you know, helping homeless animals throughout your country. Like, you don't have those. You know, people do exist. Of course, we can think of some, but you don't have to have these crazy life plans that are so absorbent. I have visited life plans where my clients are connecting to their pre-life plan of coming here, and they say, I am so excited to come to Earth to be a mom. I'm so excited to come to Earth to be a friend to this person. Or I am so excited to come to Earth and to teach children about plants. Like, I mean, it could be like that. We kind of weigh ourselves down with having to have this ginormous and over the top purpose and meaning, when it could literally, fulfillment and joy comes in all shapes, in all forms. And our non-physical selves have this idea of what we want to accomplish personally, like what we as a soul want to extend on from our past lives. And then it sets up this life so that it would mirror that. Your life now is the perfect opportunity for you to heal and clear and balance karma from your past and overcome your own life circumstances. So when someone asked, I think Henry asked, can your life have multiple purposes? Your life can have 10, 20 different meanings or reasons for wanting to be here. And it could also just have one. Like, it could just be that you wanted to come experience, you're a creator by nature, and you wanted to live in a 3D reality that allowed you to harness and expend and expand your creative power, because the universe is constantly expanding, and we are here as a part of that, as a part of the universal expansion. Okay. That was a really good question. Okay. So I don't do readings. I'm a hypnotherapist. So in my link in my bio, it's MallorieShannon.com. You can book a session with me, a hypnotherapy session. I do past life regression. I do spiritual regressions. And so I am taking people to their past lives, the spiritual plane, to channel higher beings, your spirit guides, yourself, so that you can get answers about your life now. So I don't do like psychic readings though. Okay. Have you ever regressed anyone that is currently on their last incarnation? What happens after? So I can think of a few that there was a probability in motion that this could be their last incarnation. Yes, we did receive that information. However, it is never set in stone that this is your last life. It is up to your consciousness as it evolves. And so the probability could be in motion, but there's also a choice. You have a choice whether you want to come back or not. And I can give you one example of someone who could be done with their incarnations that had to decide whether they wanted to be done or not, because they had the opportunity to come back here to assist others in their growth. So this is a very important part and a very important concept. Oh, wow, I just looked at that. The viewer count when it was at 111. This is a very important concept when you get to be an older soul. So for the purposes of understanding, this is like an arbitrary scale, but 1 to 10, 1 being baby soul, 10 being advanced soul, that you don't have to come back to earth. Once you get to be level 8, 9, and 10, you are coming here with intention of helping others. You are not just having your life be about yourself. And this can be as simple as, once again, being a parent, being a kind person, sharing your gifts with the world, being an author in some way, something. It doesn't have to be, crazy and with such high magnitude, and you have to just be this person that's like Oprah. I mean, you don't have to do that. But when you get to be an older soul, the intention inside of you to expand this 3D consciousness, this 3D reality with abundance and love and spirituality and connectedness, realizing that we are all connected. So by helping other people and helping this world, you help yourself. We're all connected to this energy. So there is an intention to help when you come here. So by the time you get to be on your last incarnations, they're very selfless. They're very much about helping. They're very much about coming here, teaching and helping and assisting. And you oftentimes will come and through these last series of lifetimes, so just for the purpose of maybe getting some clarity, your last 30 lives or so could be very much, a few of them could be dedicated to the service of others. And let me give you an example. There are people that I have regressed that have been helped by their soulmates, where their soulmates did not need to come into physical life, but they agreed to for the purpose of helping them grow and evolve. And the same thing goes for the clients that I've regressed, and that's their role in this life. They decided, I am going to come here. I didn't need to. I wanted to play a role for this person, and we needed to act out this event so that they could evolve. So that was actually something I learned quite new, early on into my career, that you could actually incarnate just to help someone. I thought was so beautiful and so selfless to commit to a lifetime of earth so that you could just help someone else grow, someone that you love. Thank you, Deanna. Someone that you love, someone that you care for, on their journey, on their spiritual growth. So yeah, I've regressed quite a few people to lives that they are living now that they're like, yeah, I actually came to fill this role. And just to kind of end this question, I have even, regressed someone that had a very antagonistic person in their current life. It was a narcissistic father. They were incarnated as father and daughter, and he was very narcissistic, even kind of borderline abusive to her. And she went to the spiritual plane to find out that he was actually playing a role for her. And he kind of asked her, like, okay, like, this is kind of for your growth and expansion. Like, I'm so sorry I had to do this, but like, we don't need to do this anymore. Like, this is kind of done. And I have regressed one more person to the, this was a partner though. This was kind of like a jerk. He was like a jerk to her, like kind of an abusive partner. And she met him and was discovered that they had a soul contract for something to happen where she was forced to confront her own boundaries and her own issues with like self-worth because of him. And they met each other on the spiritual plane after going to like 2 or 3 past lives where they had the same exact dynamic going for them. And he was sitting there begging her, like, can you please learn so I don't have to keep being a jerk to you? Like, I'm begging you. I do not want to do this anymore. Could you just like learn it? And she was like, I got it. I received it. I can't believe this. And she was shocked. I mean, you just don't expect that someone that is causing you grief or pain, you could actually unconditionally love in spirit. It's wild. It provides so much healing too, because you're like, okay, this person isn't evil and they're not out to get me. They actually are trying to help me, and that's really strange. So, okay. Do you know how specific soul contracts can be? Could someone you need for just 3 months be a soul contract? You could have a contract with someone that could last 6 hours. That's absolutely correct. You could have a contract with someone where you would come into contact with them for a short amount of time, and it is enough time for you to have done what you needed to do together. And I'll give you some examples of short-term contracts, short-term romantic partners. This includes like days. Like, you could be together for a couple of days. This includes, a common one would be miscarried or terminated pregnancies. Very short-term contract, still a soul contract, still coming into physical life to be together, even if it's only a few short weeks or months. Friendships. You could meet friends, colleagues, coworkers that are meant to be in your life for only a short amount of time, and the contract has expired and fulfilled itself. So absolutely. Soul contracts come in every kind of shape and size, depending on the karma going into it, what you've done in past lives, what is setting you up to be in the vibrational vicinity of learning in that moment. Because I also want to kind of say this, that soul contracts are not set in stone. They are not things that absolutely have to happen, because we have multiple like timelines of a life. When we come into a physical life, we have multiple ways it can go, multiple timelines we could be experiencing. For the purposes of simplification, I like to say, like, think about it about 5. You have about 5 different versions of your life that could happen, and your soul contracts are amended based on where you are and what your free will decisions in your human body have led you to. So this is all known ahead of time. Your soul can plan multiple avenues for your life experience. But when you're thinking about like, okay, it is soul contract, let's just simplify it here. If you have 5 different timelines of your life, a soul contract for you to be married to a certain person could exist in 3 of them. And for the other 2, you could have a soul contract to be with someone completely different. Or on one of them, you could have a soul contract to be on your own. Like, there are different versions of contracts depending on the timeline you're a vibrational match to. A little bit difficult, a little bit complicated. Sorry, I don't want to confuse anybody. Okay. My contract is that I'm not supposed to take a life. I was in a war before, and I remember the contract. Wow, this is really interesting. That is really interesting. I've worked with quite a few people that have gone back to wartime. Oh my God. I just have to share too, because this is kind of reminiscent of what you just said. That after a lifetime in a war, there's a feeling of responsibility, like maybe you could have made a different choice. Sometimes it was thrust upon you. It wasn't really a choice that you had. Other times, what you did while you were a soldier at war, it definitely can either balance and clear karma or accrue more karma, like negative karma. And so let me just give you an example of a session that is reminiscent of this, so I can give some context here. So I did one of my very first regressions I ever did, actually. This was in front of Dr. Brian Weiss and his wife, who I trained with, if you're not familiar. Dr. Brian Weiss is like the pioneer in past life regression and therapy. He's been on Oprah. He's written a lot of books. I'd highly recommend checking out his books. But I trained with him in Rhinebeck, New York, to be a past life regression therapist. So I actually facilitated this regression in front of him. So freaking cool. Anyway, so the person that I regressed to the life. This is a woman in her 40s at the time. She went to a past life where she was about a 14-year-old boy, and she was put into a situation in like some sort of like European Germanic country where there was like a fight or a battle over territories, and he was forced into this. It wasn't really something that he wanted to do, but it was just kind of like forced upon him. So he ended up going in very inexperienced, just a boy, and he ended up dying and being killed in a way that like an injury to his back that then affected her life now. She had chronic back issues. And so once the regression was over, she actually didn't feel any more back pain, which was crazy, and hasn't felt it to this day. I'm like still in contact with her. We're friends. And so she learned and took a very valuable lesson away from that life. And her lesson was war and doing something that you're kind of forced to do. There's always another option, and there's a way that you could kind of not be in that situation. At some point, if you're a soldier, you can have a free will choice of like, am I going to buy into this? Am I going to kill someone right now? Or am I going to not? Am I going to make a different decision? And so there was a profound message of like, life is so precious that she took away from that past life, that then she lived more lives after that, really learning the value of life. And so when you said that, it really like resonated with this overarching theme of people that I have regressed to wartime, where they take away something so important and so vital to like human life on earth, is that life is beautiful and precious and should be cherished and should not be disregarded and should not be thrown away in something as stupid and pointless as conflict and war. So that was, yeah. Can someone you met online be a contract? Actually, yes. Very interesting. I had a really cool regression with someone who went to a few past lives with their soulmate, their primary soulmate, and they knew the person in this life. They were in a relationship with them and hadn't met them yet because they were on the other side of the world and they met online. And so the person updated me when they finally met, and they had made plans, and so now they're like living together in like one of their countries. But it was just interesting because they were really questioning whether this was like a real thing or not. They're like, I have not met this person yet, but there is something about them. We video chat all the time. We have been in a relationship and we haven't even met each other. And come to find out, like, they have had multiple past lives together, and they were meant to find each other in this life. It was absolutely meant to be. And what's really super interesting is that, like, you know, I can't lie, the majority of my clients are women. The majority of my clients, I would say, are women, and there are less men that I do regress. Sometimes men can be a little more skeptical, just, you know, naturally, maybe a little more skeptical. And a lot, like, I will have like my clients, like partners or whatever, sometimes be like, oh, I don't believe in that, that's not real. But then there's some of them that are like, this energy between us is palpable. I can feel it, I can know it. And then after she did this regression, she like reported to me afterwards that the things that she told him about it, he was like, I've had dreams, and that's the exact scenario that have played out in my dreams. And so it was just validation for her that like it was absolutely real, because he felt it too. And she was like shocked to find out that he was like into it, and like not only believed it, but like resonated with it and had dreams about it himself. Okay. Sorry, I'm just going to catch up on some. Do you believe in the Jasmine, do you believe in the multiverse and that we have doppelgangers? Love your lives. I do believe in the multiverse because, I mean, from what I've heard from channeling sessions with higher beings, and when my clients are channeling information, they have, regarded to me, and I have also connected to this as well, that we have quantum timelines that we can be a part of. As far as doppelgangers are concerned, I'm not sure exactly, I don't know if that is as much a part of it. All I know is that there are different versions of you that exist in different timelines, in different vibrational reality, basically parallel dimensions. Very confusing, but that's how quantum leaping is possible. Like, you could quantum leap from one experience to the next. And what manifests in that timeline as a result of that vibrational change is the version of your life that is, that exists in a different timeline than another one. So in these 5 timelines I was giving examples of, 2 of them could be not so great experiences, not for your soul's highest, most loving good. And the other ones could be really in alignment for you, living your best life, doing the things that make you feel alive, but your soul still wanted to experience what it could feel like to be in these different realities. But then what one your consciousness is attuned to depends on your vibrational frequency in your body, and then you can switch back and forth. Very confusing. I know I get confused when I talk about it, but that's really what I've been told and what I've connected to myself. And there have been a couple movies that have kind of made a little bit of sense when it comes to this, kind of. Not really. I'm not even going to list them here because it's kind of pointless. But anyway, yeah. Can I change my purpose? I have a feeling that me and my higher self aren't ever going to agree on my goals. Very interesting. Okay. All right. You are born with your specific natal chart, with your specific numerological energy, like your life path number. You were born into a circumstance where wherever you're living, whoever you're born to, whatever country you're living in, whatever you created for your life, was giving you the perfect opportunity to heal karma, to balance karma, to learn something important, to expand on universal consciousness, and to be in your body as a powerful creator, a connected part of source energy that exists on the 3D plane. Every person born, it's not a mistake. It's not an accident. It's not something that's just a random happenstance of who you are. You are in a very important place to be moving forth with intentions you set for your life. And so when you say, can you change your purpose? Not the overarching reason for coming. That is predestined. It's predetermined ahead of time. Can you change your circumstances? Yes. And so what I'm arguing that you are experiencing, I have a feeling me and my higher self aren't ever going to agree on goals. If you're experiencing a discrepancy between what you want and then what you feel your higher self is telling you to do, there's a lesson to be learned there. There is a connection that you need to feel deeper to your soul, to your non-physical self, in a resonance with the universal stream of energy, so that when you are lined up with this, the purpose, the meaning, the fulfillment, all of it will flow from you so naturally that you will not question whether a life path is for you or not. You will know. You will know that that life path is for you. So I'm going to urge you to reframe almost how you're thinking about goals or your life purpose, because there could be an element of your life purpose that you are kind of struggling to get through. Sometimes people do plan things for themselves that are tough. They're not easy to get through. But by approaching these things with a growth-oriented mindset, anything that happens to you that's really tough and oh my God, I don't know if I can handle this, why would I plan this? Why would this happen to me? You have to look at it as, what in the world, what can I take away from this that can help me grow as a person? How can I let this shift my perspective on life so that I can be more attuned to my sense of self, to my sense of love and joy, to the love of life, of being here, to self-love for who I am as a creator. Thank you, Tara. And then from that place of resonance, you will get the feedback immediately on what is the right path for you. And then you could have a whole other world that opens up to you, full of meaning and purpose that you could not previously see before, because you were a little bit foggy on what your higher self and what your intuition was really leading to you. It just sounds oh God, it just intuitively, there's a disconnection a little bit that's happening with you. And I'm going to urge you to kind of focus in on that specific part of your body, your solar plexus, that has to do with your sense of self, because there are a lot of life purpose and life plans that we initiate and sign up for and agree to before we're born that are going to stimulate, are going to create, are going to bring to the surface a deeper feeling of lack of trust within ourselves. That at some point in our physical trail, we learned we are not reliable, we cannot be trusted. We don't have the confidence to move through this life. And those issues might be what's going on, where you intended for this life to really give you indications of like, damn, like I just can't catch a break. I don't know what's going on. Like I can't trust life. Life is hard. And in that reflection, the desire is then launched into the future. You're creating the desire to be more in tune with you and to feel confident and happy and in tune with yourself. Then from that point, it can take you through life in a beautiful way. So that is what I'm just picking up on could be going on, because it's so frequent. It's so frequent that we come here and we just don't feel good about ourselves. We're born into families that don't make us feel good. We're born into circumstances and situations. We have issues in ourselves that we just are made to feel like we don't matter, or that we're not important, or that we're not this or that or this. And that is the opposite of what our souls know to be true. It just is. Maybe if you don't believe it quite yet, just sit with how that feels, that we do want to learn by the end of our incarnations how wonderful we are, how loved we are, how powerful we are, how creative we are, how the universe is expanding through us, and there is nothing wrong or bad about us. And when we learn that, we're freaking unstoppable. Like you can create anything. You are inspired to help people. You're inspired to be kind. You're inspired to help. You have these feelings in your body that make you feel like you're in the right place at the right time, and that life is good and beautiful. And so, you're gonna get really on a roll. Thank you so much. That's so sweet. So then when that happens, when that energy shifts, the self-soul contract is completed. And so sometimes there's an energy that needs to be healed with ourselves, and then our life inspires that, and then we end up really expanding our consciousness, and we end up becoming a higher vibrational frequency, making us a higher level of advanced, wise, conscious, loving goodness on the other side. Okay. Oh, thank you guys. It's so beautiful. Oh boy. I just got really behind. Okay. Thank you so much, Jillian. Oh my gosh. Okay. I have a theory that we alternate genders and incarnations. So I'm just going to speak about trans people, LGBTQ people, just very briefly, because this is, it does naturally occur. It's a naturally occurring thing that happens as a human being. And from the soul's perspective, trans people, gay people, people that are, neurodivergent, non-binary, no matter what race or gender, sexual orientation, anything, the soul obviously doesn't have any sort of judgment when it comes to how a human being expresses themselves. However, because our society can be very judgmental and put people into boxes, there is often a really strong desire that comes from people who are not fitting into traditional patriarchal heteronormative societies, that is an intention for authenticity. And so these people that are coming in that are trans, non-binary, my sister is transgender, I am bisexual. In my own life, I've experienced this. There is a strong, strong desire for authenticity that exists on a spiritual level, that exists to understand that to judge someone and that is different than you takes away from your own center of self and consciousness. And so there is a new wave that's kind of happening of people who are these different expressions of life, because they're basically just trying to shake it up and say, listen, it doesn't matter how I express or who I am. You don't get to feel bad just because I am being genuine to me. Because if everyone was a lot more genuine and authentic to themselves, think about how that would shift what we think is normal, what we think is acceptable. So just kind of food for thought out there, that like a lot of different expressions and ways of self-expression could be a result of having, you know, a certain amount of past lives as a specific gender and then switching the body. And then it could be that the energy feels more masculine than it is feminine, even though it's a female body. All of it possible. I have actually had a couple of sessions where that is the case. A soul tends to want to incarnate into one gender over another. Sometimes it prefers one over the other. And then sometimes that translates into like the opposite, like gender as far as sexual orientation or gender identity. But ultimately, we all have masculine and feminine inside of us. And we have all been men and women. We have all been white, and we've all been Asian, and we've all experienced all of these different races and expressions and identities because we don't want to be the same person life to life. We want to shake it up. We want diversity. We want the contrast of all of the different experiences here, because if we live the same life every single time, how boring would that be? We wouldn't even learn anything. It's like taking the same math class over and over and over again. You want all the different classes. You want geography, and you want to learn history, and you want to learn math. You want to learn all of it. So to come here and be the same every time would be really boring. And so we've all been different kinds of people. Okay. Sorry, I have a lot of messages I did not. Okay. Are these recorded so I can rewatch? Jeez, yes, I can save these to my phone and upload them to YouTube, and I have a YouTube channel that all my videos are really old, and I had no camera presence back then. But yeah, I actually think that after this live, I'm going to save it to my phone, and then I can upload it to YouTube, because this might be a better method of delivery than like a podcast, because I don't have a co-host for a podcast. So yeah, even though I have 3 episodes recorded, I had never released them. But yeah, I think I am going to do that. That's a good idea. Okay. All right. So I want to touch on this one because this is tough. This is a tough one. So this is a trigger warning. I want to answer Lori's question. What about abuse? How do we contract, like, for example, like abusing a child? So this is a very, very hard subject, because I will just give a universal perspective on, like, never okay to abuse a child, never okay to kill someone, never okay to hurt people, because listen, if you hurt someone, you hurt yourself. Every single person that hurts another person has the choice whether they're going to do so or whether they're not. And so I just want to give you a perspective through an example. So this is an example of a client that I had where she was a young woman. She was in her 20s, suffered extreme abuse as a child throughout her childhood. It wasn't sexual. It was physical and emotional in nature, like mental abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse. So bad that on paper, her therapist was just kind of like, yeah, it's so clear that you had a terrible, terrible life. How dare someone do that to you? And it seemed insurmountable. The anger she felt, the hurt she felt seemed insurmountable through the lens of a traditional, this is the cards I was dealt lifetime. Until she had a spiritual awakening. She kind of awoken to this new sense of self and kind of self-exploration journey, found my work, booked a session with me, wanting to explore why. Like, why? I just want to know why. I want to give context as to why this was the case. So we went back to a past life where she experienced what it felt like to be in the body of a man who had 2 children who abused his children. And I'm talking the same mental and physical abuse that she sustained as a child in this life. And when she went to the spiritual plane after this life, she met the soulmates of the children that she abused in the past life. And who were they? But they are her parents in this life. So she experienced the abusive parent role in a past life where she abused these kids. And she decided that I am going to come back. I am going to experience what it feels like to be abused in this life, because I need to know how it feels. And I need to balance the karma that I incurred back then to learn and to grow from it, and to learn that, like, all right, we can let it go now. So after this, I mean, was she expecting this to happen? Of course not. Come on, no one's expecting to be like, oh, that's why I experienced this abuse as a child. So she came out of it, and she's just like, I don't feel angry anymore, because I realize that I did that too. Like, everyone is a human being, and we can succumb to negative emotions. And I also want to put into context that just because it's your consciousness that experiences these things in a past life does not mean it is you and the version that you are now. Let me really be clear about this. Who you are now, who you are in your body, your birthday, your natal chart, your experience, your personality, your parents, your upbringing, your experience, your learning, who you are never going to exist as you are then again. This is the only version of you you're ever going to get. So with that said, when people do go to their past lives, they visit past lives where they don't like the version of themselves that they were. Because it's an expression of your consciousness. It's not like your whole soul is just stuffed into a physical human body life to life. That's not how it works. Part of you always lives on the other side, and there's a fragment of your consciousness that decides to incarnate into a physical human body, and it can be a very different part than what you experienced before. And so sometimes there's overlap, and you have connections and intimate like resonance with who you were. And other times, and I've done this quite frequently, people go back to past lives and they're like, I hate that person. I hated who I was. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I said those things. I can't believe I acted that way. And I have gone back to a past life where I was miserable. Oh my God, this person was miserable. I hated her. I hated being in her body, hated feeling what she felt. And then I was like, okay, well, it's not me. It's my consciousness, but it's not me. I am me, who I am in this body right now, and this is the only version of me that will ever exist. I hope that can, I don't know, explain it a little better, because even in doing the trainings that I've done and the work that I've done with some of the really reputable hypnotherapists in the field right now, I never had anyone explain it to me like that. And I really wish I knew that kind of ahead of time. So you really truly are the only version of you that will ever exist. So, okay. One more really tough, trigger warning question. So I'm just going to talk about briefly what happens when we kill ourselves. So this is a trigger warning. This is suicide. From the spiritual perspective, a physical human body is really valued, really valuable, and cherished and revered. And so it's pretty much never a desire to end a physical life, like yourself, to take your own life. That's never looked upon in a favorable way. Not to say that there is any judgment about the act, because after someone does kill themselves, there is nothing but support and love and guidance, because the person didn't necessarily want to end their life. The person wanted to end their pain. And pain is a part of Earth. People on Earth feel pain very deeply, and there's a lot of low vibrational frequencies that we can feel and experience on the Earth plane. So when a life is ended because of this pain, there is nothing but compassion and understanding. However, from a perspective of your soul, what does your soul feel after it leaves a life of suicide? It feels like, oh, I could have done something better. I could have done that in a different way. I could have made a different choice. And so it's very, very eager to get back to Earth to work on the exact issues that took the life in the past life. And this is coming from personal experience. I have worked directly with people, and they are taking me to their past lives, and they have had past lives of taking their own lives. And when this happens, it's just the same. It's the same every time. They say, I wish I did something different. I know that I can do it better next time. I can't wait to get back to Earth so I can figure out what I'm going to do. And then they often set up very similar circumstances for themselves. And there have been quite a few times where we hadn't even mentioned or talked about any sort of suicidal ideation. It wasn't something that it was really in the person's mind until we go to a past life. We realize that they had taken their own life in a past life, and they are connecting to, their current life, and they then admit, afterwards, they say, I have thought about ending my life multiple times in this life, and I never had the courage to do it. There was something that was telling me, no, I have to stick it out, or something would happen that prevented, like that someone found me, or I, found the sign or whatever, and it led them away from it. Because when you do end your own life, there is energy, there's low vibrational frequencies, there's beliefs, there's things that you're carrying with you from that past life of pain that can come back into your next incarnations and be with you, so that you have to, and you're forced to confront it, to work through it, to figure it out, so you can emerge stronger and you can learn truly that life is beautiful. You are worthy. You matter. There are so many talents that you have. There are so many unique energies you get to express. And that life is sometimes painful, but there is a lot to be it's really worth it to be here. And these beliefs get healed through this process of really feeling the deepest, darkest emotions of human life. Because without these deep, dark feelings of low frequency and contrast and shame and guilt and pain, how could you imagine really appreciating light and beauty and love? It's not the same. Unless we know what it feels like to go without, we would not fully cherish and revere and feel resonance with all of the wonderful things in life too. So you cannot have light without dark. And in experiences where people do kill themselves, they are very motivated to come back to earth, and they are ready to tackle this lesson. And oftentimes they're setting up very similar circumstances where they're being confronted with feelings of shame and not good enough and I don't matter and I'm incompetent and all of these things that are being forced upon them, that are also giving them the idea of oh my God, I can't be here. Oh my God, I need to leave and I need to figure it out. And they have depression and anxiety and all of it. And then they come to a center and they come to something that switches, that changes. And when they learn, they're never going to have to learn it again. They know how valuable life is, and they're able to see all of the beauty that exists here for what it is, that we're all connected to something so much greater and so benevolent. And it is just our jobs to let ourselves flow with it and not cut ourselves off from it. I asked my spirit guides to reveal themselves to me, and I dreamed of owls landing on me. Oh my goodness, that's very interesting. So for a while now, I've tried, I have it created. It's all there. I made a Connect to Your Spirit Guides workbook. I received a lot of questions about how you can connect to your spirit guides. Your spirit guides are benevolent beings that are with you from the time you are born. They're actually with you before you're born. They help you plan your life. And they're with you through multiple lifetimes. Sometimes you can sign on for others to join you that are new to you, but typically you have a spirit guide that's been with you for definitely more than just the last few lifetimes. They're available to us whenever we do need them. They can come to us when we really need them at some points, as in I have been made aware of spirit guides directly interfering in physical form, so that something is prevented, something that could create injury or death. Spirit guides are there for spiritual wisdom, spiritual guidance. They send signs. They are almost like our direct link to the divine. So if you think about think about it like this. I've heard someone say this before. If you think about God, or what you would, visualize or feel God to be, source energy is what I call it. It's like when you do connect in that way and you feel resonance with it, it's like your higher self is connecting to you, but also the means in which you receive these abundant, beautiful gifts and inspiration and ideas is really through your spirit guides. They are your direct connection to the divine. I hope that can make sense. And And so I created a workbook, How to Connect to Your Spirit Guides. It's actually, there's a link in my bio. It's underneath my booking system. It says book a Zoom appointment and then How to Connect to Your Spirit Guides workbook. It's a 67-page book that I wish I had when I first started connecting to my spirit guides, because it does give you step-by-step instructions on how to resonate with the frequency of your guides. Just very simplified. We exist at a frequency that is lower than what the spiritual realm has. Meaning, if we want to connect to our loved ones in spirit, our spirit guides, higher beings, our higher selves, we have to increase our vibrational frequency, meaning we have to feel and experience alignment with a benevolent force of love and light and a connectedness. I know that you've pretty much all of you have felt what that feels like. It just feels like power. It feels like beauty. It feels like love. It feels like just like calm all at once. There's so many different versions of high vibrations that you can feel. And when you vibrate at that frequency, you are able to receive messages from them. And so they can start to give you psychic information. The workbook also goes through your clairs, what clair you have, how to know which clair is yours, how to practice them, things like that. So if you're interested, you can buy the workbook and work through it too. But your spirit guides, are constantly kind of giving you feedback. And when you ask them for help, like this person asked them to reveal themselves to you, and then owls came to you in your dream, that is a beautiful way of them showing you this is the resonance and the form that you're going to resonate with. And so I'm going to present them, or myself, let's say this is from the spirit guide's perspective, as an owl, to show you this is the frequency that you're working with. And the workbook also gives you the 7 types of spirit guides. There are 7 types of guides that you can have, and how they present themselves to you is how their energy is manifesting to you and what it's giving you. So just to kind of, really quickly go through them, there are angel guides, are some of the most common spirit guides. Angels are very, very common, not in a religious like Christian sense, but in an overall like loving, benevolent, like, oh my God, like they just love you and care for you so much and they're very nurturing. Angels are very common. You also have animal guides, and so if they presented themselves to you to be owls, then you are definitely in resonance with an animal guide. You can have deities, which is like gods and goddesses, a little bit less popular. Elementals, meaning like fairies and different forms of life, elves and gnomes and mermaids, all of that. You can have extraterrestrial guides. So people who are star seeds have at least one extraterrestrial guide. They are the least common guides to have because star seeds are not as common. But they are getting more common, honestly. They're getting more common. And so depending on your specific star system, where you're from, the Pleiades, Sirius, Lyra, all of it, you're going to have that specific star person guide. Ancestor guides, also very popular. I would say second most popular are ancestor guides, meaning direct genetic ancestors, people that you've known in your life that have passed on, that are acting as family guides, are classified under ancestor guides. But also which is interesting, you could have an ancestor guide that is of a different race and ethnicity than your biological human body, because it is a past life coming through to this one. So for example, I have a lot of clients that have connected to past ancestor guides that are Egyptian, that are African, that are Nordic, that are Native American, that are Asian, like all of the different that are not those races or cultures in their body now, but they were in past lives, and so those guides are very much resonant with them still as ancestor guides. And I'm missing one. Oh, Ascended Masters. Ascended Masters is the last type of guide. And to just simplify it, like a very famous Ascended Master, it would be Jesus. And so they could act as spirit guides as well. So an Ascended Master is basically just someone who has gone through karmic cycles and ascended higher than what we are currently at right now on Earth. And so they're just wiser than us, and they're just a little bit more all-knowing, and they help us through our journeys. Okay. What do souls look like? Oh my goodness, I love this question. So you get to experience and you get to choose how you'd like to present your soul, which is really cool. So because thought is instantaneous, when you are in spirit, you have instant manifestations. You think something, it manifests in your reality, which is frustrating for us to have that experience as a soul, as a light body, and then come down to a physical planet like Earth, where it takes a long time to manifest things sometimes. And so that's why we get really discouraged, because it's so easy for us on the other side, and it's sometimes so difficult for us in the physical. So when we are light body, we could be white light, so basically we are like light. We are like, an aura or an energy being of light. We can present ourselves as a past life personality. We can present ourselves to be like a beautiful flowing goddess. We can present ourselves to be really masculine energy. It just depends on how we want to present ourselves. But typically when I do work with people, after they leave a physical life, sometimes they will retain their human body. So for example, maybe like when I pass away from this life, I will want to represent myself for for a little while, and look exactly how I look right now. That is a very common experience after someone leaves a life. They feel comfortable in the body they were just in, so their soul will express themselves as how they looked in human form. And that's how souls present themselves when other souls are passing away. So for example, when you leave physical life, you are probably going to have, unless you're a really advanced soul, this is the caveat, unless you're a really advanced soul and you don't need this, typically what happens is when souls pass away, they will have their family members and the people that they knew in their physical life help them transition to the non-physical plane, and they will present themselves as how they looked in the life that the person knew them. So that's why, you hear all the time from hospice workers, nurses, people who are around death frequently, that the people who are on their deathbeds and actively dying are then saying, this is my mom is here, my brother is here, my whoever is here, because they are actually souls presenting themselves as how they looked so that they could help the person transition. But when say all of the transition period is over, say you're acclimated to the other side, and you're meeting your soulmates and you're talking with your spirit guides, and you look down at your energy, depending on what color you are is an indicative of your age, your soul's age. So you can read more about this in Dr. Michael Newton's books, Journey of Souls. You can read about this in some other things too. But so what people have realized is that depending on what color you are is how old you are. So when you are a red hue, if you have a red hue to your soul's energy, you are a young soul. If you have an orange hue, you are a little bit older. If you have a yellow hue, a little bit older. You see the pattern here, goes up to the rainbow. And so then once you get to be green, you are mid-level. When you get to be blue, you're going into older. When you get to be purple, you are really advanced. And when you get to be gold or silver or like pure white, you are really advanced, and you probably aren't going to come back to Earth anytime soon. So, that's kind of what they look like. Okay, love this question. And this is different from an aura. Your aura as a human being is different than your soul's color and hue. Okay, can I live in two cities in the same period of time? Absolutely you can. I'd love to talk about this. It's called split incarnation. So as I said before, you can exist in more than one body at a time because you do not fit all of your soul's energy into one physical human body. When you are in one physical human body, there's only a fragment of your consciousness that's coming down here. So basically, a part of your soul always exists on the other side. That's what people like to refer to as your higher self, because it's always there. You're always connected to it. You're tethered to your body. Your consciousness is tethered to your body for the purpose and for the time that you're incarnated on Earth. And so then when you are an older soul, so this is not something that happens when you're a younger soul. You like to do it one lifetime at a time, and you don't like to be in more than one place at the same time. You like to just kind of really focus your energy on one lifetime. So then when you get to be about an 8, 9, a 10, you can, I would say even 7, you can start to experience split incarnation, meaning you can be in more than one physical human body in the same time-space reality. So that means that you're taking a fragment of your consciousness and you're putting it into one body, and you're taking another fragment and you're putting it into another body. And these two parts of you never need to meet, which is very interesting to people because I think that this is the concept or the old school, like traditional concept of a soulmate, is that it's two halves of you and you have to search for the other half and create the whole, and that's just not the case. And so I actually got a question earlier on twin flames, and so I kind of want to bring the twin flame kind of discussion into it, where I do not like the term twin flame because the term twin flame is actually implying that this split incarnation thing is a case where you have to find the other half of your soul and resonate with it and blah, blah, blah. But in actuality, in a true split incarnation, part of you could be living in Japan and the other part could be living in Canada, and you're never going to meet the other part. You're just having two completely different experiences because two different bodies and times and genders and not times, same, they could exist. Let's just say in the year 2023, you could be in Japan and you could be in Canada, two different places, and you never will meet each other because it's not necessary, because you set up two life circumstances that fit your karmic objectives that have nothing to do with one another meeting. So twin flame, I believe the term to be inherently flawed, and I prefer to use the term primary soulmate, because we actually haven't talked about this yet on this live. You have soulmates, a pod of souls that go with you life to life to life to life, that you incarnate with over and over again for the purposes of growth and of learning and of expansion and of advancing your consciousness together. So with this group, it could be anywhere from 6 to 15 souls in a soul family or a little pod. You were created together and you go through earthly lives together, and you eventually ascend together. You don't want to leave members of your soul family behind. That's why we have what's called selfless incarnation, and you go in and you volunteer to play roles for each other so that your soulmates can learn. We talked about that earlier. So when you are in your soul pod with your soulmates, sometimes you choose to have what's called a primary soulmate, or two. You can even have two primary soulmates, where you can be with one or two souls over and over and over again in a romantic capacity, so that you are marrying them, or you're lovers, or you're in a relationship of some kind, or you have a child with them, who knows, any sort of like kind of relationship that's romantic or sexual in nature, where you're able to learn important things from these energies. You could choose to have one primary soulmate, you could choose to have two, you could choose to have none. There are some souls that do not want a primary soulmate, and that's okay. They take turns with their soulmates, learning things about relationships and sex and, intimacy and things like that. So yeah, what was the original question? I forget. Oh yeah, split incarnation was the original question, but then I kind of got derailed to talk about primary soulmates and twin flames. So when you hear the term twin flame, try to maybe reframe it as in the form of a primary soulmate, because that's a more accurate representation of what's going on. Okay. I love these questions. You guys are giving such good questions. Okay. So talk about dreaming really quick. Is soul healing or what are you experiencing when you're dreaming? Your subconscious can talk to you and communicate to you through your dreams. You can also receive past life dreams, and you can also astrally project and travel in your dreams. And I want to say this, that you can create and amend and cancel soul contracts in your dream state. And the most common example of this, I will say, is the creation of new contracts with children. So oftentimes you will already know who is going to be your parent and who you're going to be born to before your parent is born. So let's just take that into consideration for a second. You choose your body, you choose your life, you choose your race, you choose your gender, you choose these things ahead of time. These things are predestined. You know you're coming down and you know you're going to be born to these people. Most often this happens prior to your parents' birth. So in spirit, you will all be together saying, okay, like I'm going to be your mom this time, and you're going to come in and be my child, and blah, 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 blah. So this is happening on a level that's like way, way before your actual birth. However, there are contracts that are created sometimes when the person is incarnated already. So So let's just say a mother is, incarnated, and she's, I don't know, in her teens or 20s or whatever. And then there's a soul that wants to be born to her. And this was not discussed ahead of time. This wasn't a planned thing that they agreed to before the mother's birth. But then in the dream state, on the astral plane, there will be a contract signed that says, okay, this child, I'm agreeing to be birthing this child and having the child come into physical life. And so that's an important kind of business transaction, for lack of a better word, that happens in the astral plane while you're sleeping. But it is agreed upon. So there is no child born on this planet that the mother or person who is pregnant or think of anything you can think of for parent or caregiver. There is no child born on this planet that was an accident and the person didn't agree to have them. Let's just say that. Okay. Oh, is there any way to consciously get to know what is happening in the life of the other person in the incarnation? Yes, actually. I have had a couple of clients, and I have read about a few clients from the famous hypnotherapist work that they are receiving information about what their split incarnation is currently doing. Yes, possible. But not necessary. Not necessary. Because the person that you're living as now has the intention, the energy, the purpose, all of that figured out, so that they don't really need to interact with the other split. Okay. Can we choose never to see Earth family ever again? You can. You have a choice on whether you're going to see, who you're going to see, what you're going to see, who you're going to be born to. I just want to give you this perspective. It's very hard to, sometimes I find it hard to hear the things that I say about what I know, what I've learned as a hypnotherapist and regressing people to past lives. It's hard to think that applies, really. It's hard to say, like, really? Would I really want that? Did I really choose that? Is that something that I really wanted? Did I want to come to Earth? Or was this thrust upon me? It's hard to say it because when we're physically incarnated, we feel all the feelings. We have all the experiences. And sometimes it sucks to be here. And sometimes it's really freaking hard. And so to say to someone, you chose this. You blah, 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 blah. Sometimes it sounds impassive. It sounds like I'm a jerk, just victim blaming and saying like, oh, I've gotten accused of that a lot. So it's nothing new, but whatever, comes with the territory. So it's hard to kind of reconcile that your physical human brain and who you are now has a different perspective when you're in spirit, but that is just the truth. So I just got to say that when you are in spirit and you are a spiritual being and a soul, you view human life so much differently than when you are here. And this happens all of the time. Like, my clients are connecting to their higher selves and they're saying, yay, I can't wait to come to Earth. It's going to be so fun. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. We're going to go eat peaches. I'm going to taste fruit in my mouth, and I'm going to go see mountains. I'm going to climb through the forests. I'm going to have babies. And I'm going to, oh my God, like you'd think that the people that are higher selves, I mean, I nicknamed someone's higher self Joy after the movie Inside Out because she just sounded like, what's her name? Amy something. I forget her name. The Parks and Rec woman. I can't forget her name. Yeah. Amy Poehler? Yeah. Just sounded just like her. Like, Earth is amazing, guys. I can't wait to be here. I can't believe that it's so fun here. Like, that's what our higher selves say. And it's a little bit annoying sometimes because it's like, Ray, really? Like, could we maintain this energy throughout my incarnation? Because, like, I really need it right about now. And so when you are looking at your physical life through the lens of your soul is excited. Your soul is motivated. Your soul is really, eager to get here. And I regress people back in time. So in the work that I do to go to past lives in the spiritual plane to get to the things I'm talking about, we systematically go back in time. So I take you to the womb, which is the space that you are actually having your soul mold and come into before you're even born. We have memories of being in the womb. And sometimes we can have birth trauma that comes from that too, that we have to work through. Little did I know I had some birth trauma I had to work out. So that was healing in itself. Anyway. So people are starting to connect to their higher selves and their purpose for being here in the womb. And they are saying how excited they are. They're like, I cannot wait to be born. I just want to be born already. And then a couple of times, which is funny, people who were prematurely born, like born early, their souls are like, oh, I couldn't wait. I literally could not wait to get here. I came early because I am so happy. And that was like so confusing for them to hear. I was like, yeah, I was born premature, but I didn't know it was because I wanted to be here so bad. So when you're talking about, can I choose to never incarnate with certain family members again? I need you to consider the fact that your soul has such a different view of them than you might. And this exists personally. I feel the same exact way that you do about certain family members. I do not believe I was born into the family that I know and I love and I created for myself in this life. I have very limited contact with my family. And my soul has a different perspective than my human body that feels hurt and pain through some of the experiences that I've had with my family. So when you are in spirit, you are looking at these people that you decided to be born into, or you're looking at these people that you've come into contact with love, with unconditional love. Like, man, that was kind of a rough go, but like, I love you and thank you for playing that role with me. There are certain cases where there is deep pain and hurt that does translate to the other side. So I don't want you to think that every single time you are experiencing hurt, abuse, pain, neglect, all of it from someone, that you have to be up there and love them and hug them on the other side. That's not the case. Because there are times, and I have regressed people to lifetimes, where someone violated someone in a very egregious way. And it translated to the other side of like, I need my time and space from you, and I do not want you in my energy right now, and they separate, and there is no rejoining and rejoicing and all of this lovey-dovey shit. So yeah, just to give you the perspective though, that our souls are very highly motivated and happy on the other side, and they think about life a little bit differently. Ooh, I'm going to get to a really interesting question. Okay. Our higher selves are never disconnected from us. They are never disconnected from our reality. We are always tethered to them and connected to them. I hope that can give you some feelings of like, no matter where you are, no matter what you're going through in life, you are always connected to your higher self until you pass. And then your higher self, you merge with your higher self because you are no longer tethered to your body. Do we ever get stuck here or ever become a lost soul? I really want to talk about this because it's not really comfortable to talk about all the time. Sometimes it can get into the realm of scary stuff that I don't like talking about, like paranormal stuff or hauntings or possession, although sometimes it happens. But I want to talk really quickly about ever become a lost soul. A fragment of your consciousness that exists in a human body can experience such low frequencies. I'm talking people who killed other people, who experience deep pain, shame, fear, guilt. Religion actually had a lot to do with some of this shit that I'm talking about. Pardon my French, I don't mean to swear. Yeah, so if you can feel really low vibrations on the physical plane, you then can translate that when you die to the point where you are unable to perceive higher realms of consciousness, meaning you die and your soul doesn't rejoin its whole. Your soul doesn't rejoin its whole. The fragment of the consciousness, it's like an imprint, like kind of like a snake skin. Let's just say that. Because it's not the soul, it's not like the energy of source, it's the fragment of energetic consciousness that can remain on the physical plane. It's like a little fragment, like a little soul fragment. And so that is what we're experiencing when we go to places that are haunted or that there are energies around that are interfering with the plane. It is souls or disincarnate energy that has not rejoined its soul yet, or its main part. And really interestingly, I just had an experience this past month with a person who regressed to a past life where this was the case, where a fragment of their soul never left the 3D realms. It could not perceive higher than that. And so what we actually had to do is she intended to be born into this life so she could help her fragmented self rejoin the whole. And we actually went through the process, a similar process to how I facilitate spirit attachment releases, which is a different subject. Spirit attachment is basically where the individual consciousness that I'm talking about now, where your soul doesn't fully rejoin its whole and it remains on the other side because it can't perceive a higher realm because it's stuck in low vibrations. That sometimes can attach itself to human beings in the form of spirit attachment, and it can kind of maybe create havoc on people. Not super common. It's not really common. This is not something that happens all the time, so I do not want to scare anybody. But when it does happen, you can feel the energetic presence, and I facilitated 2 spirit attachment releases where we have to go in and allow the energy to be released and detached. We have to call in the help of higher beings, typically angels. So we did a similar process to this spirit attachment when we basically gathered her soul fragment and rejoined it to the whole, where this past life version of her ended up being a little bit lost after his incarnation and needed help getting back to the whole of her. And so that's super interesting to learn about, though, the fact that even if your soul, part of your soul, dies and remains on the 3D realm and is confused or lost, you still have the ability to reincarnate because the majority of your energy, of your consciousness, of your soul exists in the frequency of like heaven or wherever heaven is to you. It's not just one place. It's a series of places depending on your vibrational frequency, depending on your level of consciousness and level of wisdom. Whew, I hope that I didn't lose anybody. Okay. I've dreamed of part of my life before it happened, and to this day, I wonder how it will be, how it is possible. Okay. So I want to talk about really quickly that we have aspects of our lives that are planned out ahead of time and that we are well aware of that we're going to experience. And so when we do experience them, we experience deja vu, or we experience a dream or a deja rev, which is you have an experience like, oh my God, I've dreamed this before. And it's because it's our soul almost giving us a feedback mechanism of things that we planned that are vibrationally going to happen and unfold. And so it's almost like our soul's recognition of like, yes, this is true. Yes, this is planned. Yes, this is happening. And then really quickly, I want to talk about quantum leaping. So I'm not going to get too deep into it because it can be a little confusing. It's a little confusing for me still to understand fully. But basically, we have different timelines of our experience that we can jump into at any given point, and we can experience a different set of circumstances that can be for our highest good. And typically what people are thinking about when they're quantum leaping is becoming a vibrational match to the best version of their life, which exists. It very much exists as a potential. The truest and fullest potential of you is known about and planned about before birth. So the people that are coming into their highest potential, let's just say like, famous benevolent people that are spiritual and that are loving and that are kind, are tapping into the highest version of themselves. Same thing with just successful people that feel happy and feel content in a lot of areas of life. They tapped into the highest potential of themselves. Everyone has a highest potential. And by understanding the highest potential and understanding the law of vibration and law of attraction and how it really works, that we have atoms and cells and molecules in our body that have a charge and have a vibrational frequency to them. And when we are in alignment with this universal force of consciousness that is available to every living being, that it makes up all living things on this planet, when we tap into this, we are unstoppable. We are an expression of universal light. We are literally like, not to say in this in a religious context, but we are God incarnated. We are the highest expression of energy. We are creative by nature. We are light. And so when we come into resonating with our light, with like the goodness and the trueness and the love that we are as spiritual beings, we tap into a higher timeline that puts us in a frequency of attracting and manifesting the things that are so important for our life purpose and our life objective. What does that look like? It looks like we know ourselves and we love ourselves. It feels like we love other people and plants and animals around us. It feels like we have a deep respect and love and nurturing for this planet and for what it means to be alive on this planet. It looks like we fulfill some of our highest goals of life, which are success in career, success in relationships, success in happiness and joy, teaching and helping others. That's the highest timeline for an incarnation. And when you start to feel yourself tapping into the potential as if it's already yours, so you can't look at these things as though they are possibilities. To quantum leap effectively, you have to feel and know and believe and expect that these things are not only real, but they are yours and you possess them. Because when you start to, your energy, your body, your being responds, and this world responds to the vibration you feel. So it's not about what we want. It's not about what we think we desire or what we want to create. The universe, the law, the governing law of life on earth is responding to who you are. So just take that in for a second. It's not about what you want or what you're trying to create. This life, this world responds to who you are. So when you view it that way, when you say, all right, it's not about, okay, I just have to like think about this a lot and feel about it a lot. It's like, no, you have to be it. You have to embody it. Like you are it. It is done. It is expected. This is the natural progression of your life, that you are successful. I am powerful. I am loving. I matter. I have an important life plan and things to do. These are the feelings and these are the words and the sentences that your soul and your energy responds to. And those are the ways that you quantum leap into the highest timeline for your experience. It's not about saying, I am hopeful and I can't wait for this and it's going to be so nice when I have, it's like I am these things. That is how you quantum leap. I hope that can help. Okay. She's spitting nothing but facts right now. Oh God, I love that. That was cute. Okay. In theory, you could potentially experience your own ghost. I guess. Yeah, I guess. It's possible. But really, it's about how can you kind of heal that fragment to yourself, since I actually just did this month for the first time, helping that person. Spirit attachment release sounds like it'd help raise the Earth's vibration enough if enough people did it. Yeah, actually. So what would actually raise Earth's vibration the most is, okay, let me put this into, I want to fit this into what I just said about quantum leaping. Because quantum leaping is your soul's highest expression of physical life, if you were to get into resonance with your soul's highest expression of physical life, you would, by default, clear and heal all of the karma your soul wanted to. You have the potential to heal, balance, and clear all of the karma your soul has ever incurred throughout any incarnation in the time you have left in one physical life. That is how much of an opportunity Earth is, and that's why Earth is so enticing. That's why Earth is so revered and desired for people to go to, because it provides this opportunity for so much growth in just a short amount of time. So when we're talking about quantum leaping and like tapping into the highest version of you, that by default is going to heal karma. It's going to heal other people's karma. And let me tell you, when you feel, pardon me, when you feel in resonance with your soul, when you feel powerful, when you feel like you are a good person who deserves good things, when you start to say these things to yourself and believe them, you have to believe them. You have to know that this is who you are. Like, I am a powerful creator and I come to Earth because I like to experience 3D reality. I like to create. I'm a creative person, and everything that happens in my brain I can manifest into physical life. I have intentions of sharing my love and my wisdom and myself with this world. Everyone comes to Earth with the intention of bringing their light to this place. The highest expression of you is when you feel like you are bringing the truest aspect of you into this physical world. And so by doing that, you are actively co-creating on this planet to add to the experience and the expansion of the human collective consciousness. You are not just doing this for you. It ends up being a thing where you do it for the people in your life. Everyone that comes into contact with you benefits. Every plant and animal and mineral that you are around directly benefits from your vibration. People that feel this literally glow in the dark. Like electromagnetic resonance on these people that feel in tune with themselves, that are transcendentally meditating and all of this, and the monks and all of it. Studies have been done. You glow in the dark. Like your entire being is just lit up by energy. When you feel in resonance with source, when you feel in resonance with your higher self, when you let your soul's light flow through your body. The only reason we don't always feel connected to our souls in this way that I'm describing is because we actively cut ourselves off from source in different ways, through different beliefs, through different experiences. And truly all of the work that I do when it comes down to like the nitty gritty, like take away all of the fluff and all of the, oh cool, past lives heal your relationships and find your purpose and help your physical problems and your diseases or whatever, like, and heal your karma. Take away all the fluff, boil it down to what the work that I do actually does. I help people release resistance to the flow of life and to the flow that lets their bodies be lit up by their souls. Because when you remove the resistance and the blockages by these false beliefs from who you are, because when you start to take away things like, I am unworthy, I don't matter, I am unlovable, I can't create what I want. When you start to take away these stupid things that we as humans just let stick on us like glue, when we take those away, we feel nothing but this light and the resonance with ourselves. And that's the highest expression of human life. That is literally one of the biggest joys of being here, is to create heaven on earth through our connection with source energy, through our connection with our higher selves, with God, with who we truly are. And it sounds like, I don't know, it sounds a little like trite or just like too good to be true. But when you feel it and when it's like you are unstoppable. You are absolutely unstoppable from creating anything. You can be or do or have anything you want. You can help people in the way that you've always wanted to. You can bring a part of you to this world that is so vital and important, and you're helping evolve all of humanity from that. Oh my gosh, thank you. That was so sweet. So yeah. Okay. Anxiety is a survival mechanism that is extended to parts of life where it is not needed. I can't even list all of the different types of anxiety that I've worked with and how they've connected to past lives, because it is so unique for every single person. Separation anxiety, social anxiety, anxiety over performance, anxiety over anything can be linked to a past life experience or a this life experience where the anxiety was real, it was palpable, it was trying to make you survive in a certain way, but it's a memory and a belief that's been imprinted in you that can get progressively worse, because it's basically it's taking away some of the creative power that you do have. So doesn't matter what kind of anxiety you can even think of. It could be due to a belief that no longer serves you, that is trying to come to the surface and trying to be healed. I would recommend that if there is like a severe anxiety issue or problem, that everything that I'm talking about with past life regression, coming into contact with you and your soul more completely, I mean, it could be very, very healing and very, very insightful to get to some of the root causes of anxiety. And sometimes they're shocking. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that like everything is so peaceful and beautiful and everyone's like, oh, I expected that. No, like I have people come out of these sessions and emerge and they look like they just got hit by a bus. They're like, what just happened to me? It's like kind of like a high for me, actually. Like when I get done with someone that just had like a profound release, or they figured out the reason for their life, or they figured out like the meaning of this. They come out and they look shocked. They just look shocked. They look like they got off a roller coaster. They're just like, I don't have really words to describe it. And it kind of like gives me this like high. It's so weird. like I did a drug or something, and they're just like, okay, yeah, I get it now. It makes sense. And I mean, I'm not going to say that this is a magic wand and it fixes every single thing, because sometimes there are, you know, things that you learn in past life regression that you then have to implement for yourself. It's a tool. It's not a end all be all. However, there are certain times where someone goes to a past life, they understand something, and it's healed. They're done. They get it. Their perspective has shifted. Their physical ailment vanishes. Their relationship problems are resolved. They understand the meaning of life. Sometimes it can be magical, but it's not a guarantee, but still. I would recommend looking into it, because there's nothing more interesting than figuring out why you have an extreme anxiety or fear of leaving your loved one, and then you go to a past life where your husband died in a war, and you're like, oh, I get it now. Or, I mean, I could name 1,000. You're terribly afraid to have children, and you actually can't physically get pregnant, even though your partner and you are trying, because you miscarried a very late-term pregnancy in a past life and died. These anxieties and these fears, I do have to say, like, God, like 80% of the time, it has to do with death trauma. It has to do with how you died. And if you think about it through that lens, I'm really afraid of something, or I have a lot of anxiety about something because I died from it before. It's like, oh my God, mind blowing. Of course, I'm going to be afraid of this thing. It took me out in my past life. Like, I'm not doing that again. Like, I had someone that was so afraid of water, she couldn't shower. Like, she would be in the shower and have to just go and like dunk her head under the water because she'd be so afraid of water. And lo and behold, she died of drowning in a past life, and it's very uncomfortable. It's a very bad way to die, just to let you know. I mean, not to scare anybody, sorry, I don't want to scare anybody, but it's a very painful, very, very painful way to go. And so, yeah, it took her out before, so it's only natural she's going to be afraid of water in this life. And then it goes to a lot of different things. I mean, a lot of different traumas, a lot of different experiences that we have in past lives. Our bodies remember. It's cellular memory. It can stay in our bodies, and it can take us out again. And another example is disease that happens to you. Sometimes cancer, sometimes other diseases that your body physically manifests is due to a vibration and an energy that was present in a past life experience that never got healed, that is creating havoc and imbalances in the physical body now, and the body is like responding to the feeling. It's responding to the energy. It's responding to the vibration, and it's creating the illness. And so I literally had a person that has stage 3 abdominal cancer. And we went to past lives where she lived a life of a miserable person, a very miserable person that wasn't kind to people, wasn't nice to people, thought terrible things about life, was a very hurt person, and died thinking life sucked. And she was born into her life now with the same energy, and lo and behold, her body said, you think life sucks? Okay, you're leaving. We're gonna exit. And that's the feeling that she had to work with. And so her cancer was a wake-up call. Her cancer was a catalyst to her being like, I actually like life. I actually want to be in life. It has completely changed how she feels and thinks about life. And her perspective wouldn't have shifted if cancer wasn't this like energy that arose in her experience. So I digress. We're getting a little bit off of. Sorry, I wanted to answer. Okay, why do we say past lives when time isn't real? I wanted to answer that from Nicole. So past lifetimes is technically inaccurate. When I say past lives, it's for the purposes of understanding. What would be a more accurate way to describe what I'm talking about would be parallel life, but that is confusing too, because then we're getting confused with parallel dimensions. Human language is very limiting for how I can describe the things that are kind of going on. Like, we don't have words in the English language to describe it properly, and a lot of the times I'm trying to relay to you what heaven is like, or the other side, or the resonance with non-physical energy. It is ineffable, which means indescribable. You cannot describe it in English. So I do the best I can with the words I have. But yes, so when I say past lives, I'm not really speaking past lives, because in this whole confusing web of time, that is sometimes difficult to grasp, even in my own brain. Time is not linear like we see it. It's not happening like past, present, future. It's happening all at once. And so technically, if you want to get technical, you could die in the year 2023 and be reborn in the year 1250. So yeah, that's kind of all I can really say without getting really confused in my own brain. So the past is happening all at once, which is why when you do heal your past life personalities and aspects of your life from the past, you're having an impact on your now and your then, because it's happening all at once. It's like a layer. It's like weird, but yeah. Okay. You also can have past lives that happen in the future, because as I said, time is concurrent. If you want to learn more about this, it's a very confusing topic because your subconscious mind believes that the future is no longer written. And so although it is possible to progress people to future lives, and I've tiptoed on potential futures in progressions that people have spontaneously started to go through, you can read more about this in this book called Past Lives, Future Lives. It's by Dr. Bruce Goldberg. He is now deceased, but he wrote that book back in the 80s, and he had done a lot of future progressions with people. And so I do want to say that the timeline you will tap into is a little bit ambiguous. Yeah, that's the best way I can put it. Because of whatever you're doing in your life now depends on what timeline of your future incarnation you will have. So it's just a little bit more difficult to conceptualize, but you can have past lives in the future technically, I guess, if you want to get technical, but hurts my brain to think about once again. Okay. Can psychedelics help you connect to your higher self? Yes, they can. So I had never really done psychedelics. I was signed up for an ayahuasca retreat that was coincidentally booked for March 2020. We all know what happened then. I couldn't go. So I actually did psychedelics through a guided trip where I live in Portland in February for the first time. And I did psilocybin, which is mushrooms, and I connected to some information that, oh boy, I needed. And so I would like to describe my experience with psychedelics because it wasn't what I expected. It was very different than what I expected. I work in the realm of past lives. I've visited about 8 of my own past life experiences. We have hundreds, so I have a lot to choose from. But these 8 are ones that had relevance into my current life experience. But there were lives that I could not access due to some deep buried feelings of hurt and victimization. So in visiting all past lives myself, I've visited a lot of past lives that have relevance to my life. I've experienced physical healing because of that. I think I talk about this sometimes, that I did die in childbirth in a past life, and it had effects on my physical body where my menstrual cycle was extremely uncomfortable, extremely painful. I could not move. It felt like I would get shot. It was like, oh my God, so pain. It was like stabbing pain. And when I visited this past life of dying in childbirth, the pain and the experiences that I would experience when I had my period, completely gone. They kind of vanished, which was really healing and really awesome for me. So I've had some healing experiences in my own past life regressions. But going back to this mushroom trip that I did, I had some past life experiences come to the surface that were very jarring and very full of so much deep-seated pain that I didn't even really have access to them, even in hypnosis. And so when I did this and I didn't meet with my higher self. It was almost like I was just being shown. Sometimes people do meet their higher selves and they can have experiences with their higher selves, but I was shown some ancestor guides, and I was given a few information. I was given information on a few lifetimes I have had where this group of people kind of came to me and showed me my soul's history and what I have been through in this regard. And they were giving me just the information I needed at that time to heal in the way I needed to at that point in my life. So I was 31 when I had this experience. And that was the time and period of my life that I really needed that information, because it was actively holding me back. It was a vibration that I talked about when we cut ourselves off from source energy. That was the exact right time to tap into that and to heal that wound. And it's been a process to heal it, but it's still a very important part, and a very important time I've received that information. So if you are drawn to psychedelics, if you are drawn to experience of going in and meeting your guides or seeing what can happen, I do want to say that for me, and what I connected to in this experience, is that it felt like something that was so familiar and so comforting that after some, original anxiety, going into, sometimes these psychedelic trips can be anxiety provoking. You have to be in the right experience. You have to have someone there to help you. You have to go through it with intention. You have to be in the right mindset. All of these things, all of these things are true. Having a spiritual experience on psychedelics like mushrooms or even LSD, ayahuasca, can be so healing, because it can really just fast track something that you need, something that's going to present itself to you for the purposes of your own healing. And how that manifests is going to be completely unique to you. It's going to be what you need in the moment. It's going to be what you are ready to handle. And so it's really interesting is that the guide I did my psychedelic trip with, was very surprised on how quick it was, because I was in the trip for about 2.5 hours, and I had, my God, I think I took 4.2 grams of mushrooms. So that was a lot for a short amount of time. Got what I needed to get, received everything I needed to get, and it was just out. I was out. I was like, I'm back. I'm back in my body. I'm back in this room. I know exactly what's going on. Like, whew, it was hard. That was the deepest integration period I've ever had to have. Which brings me to my next topic. I really want to talk about integration, because when we do work like this, when we do psychedelic work, when we do work with hypnosis and regression, there is an integration period that does happen afterwards that's just as important as the original healing itself. Oftentimes in my sessions with clients, and what I experienced too with this psychedelic trip, is I experience an energetic release. And I've had it in hypnosis sessions before too, and my clients experience energetic releases, as in a cathartic release. Sometimes it's called an abreaction, where the person is so emotional and putting their energy into things. Sometimes it can be a situation where you're lying down, you're comfortable, you're in hypnosis, but you are twitching, you are moving. I had someone that was convulsing their body, not in an unsafe way. I've only had to take a couple people out of a situation using separation techniques to stop what was happening, because it was too dangerous for them to continue, because they couldn't catch their breath. That's only happened a couple of times, 3 times really. And so typically I am letting people release from their bodies, because their bodies need it. They need to let this energy go. So they moved it through their body, and they release it and they let it go. But there's an integration period that has to happen afterwards. And so they are taking what they learned, and they're figuring out how it fits into their life. They are having more experiences. They are sleeping very heavily and having intense dreams, or they are journaling and meditating and exercising and feeling a new energy. There's something that shifts in your consciousness when you do something like this, like a psychedelic trip or a hypnosis session, where you have to have time to process. So it just, for example, for me, I had to process deep pain that I felt from past life experiences of being enslaved and of being killed, where I hadn't had conscious awareness of this. And it was a feeling of victimhood that I have brought through this life, and it has held me back. It's kept me apart from my soul. So in letting myself feel it, it wasn't comfortable. It wasn't a great feeling to feel just hurt and pain and why and how, and it's an emotion, it's a feeling, and you have to process it and let it go, because there is only so much that you can really do once you acknowledge the issue or the energy. Sometimes you just got to process it and let it go. And I actually want to give you one more example of a client where we had an insane and crazy healing on her uterus and on her body, because she experienced, trigger warning, she experienced a forced abortion in a past life, where a lot of trauma, a lot of bleeding. Her body remembered it, cellular memory, and she was having 8-week-long menstrual cycles, bleeding for 8 weeks at a time with 2 weeks off, and would start all over again. And this experience was I mean, so healing and so releasing when she went through it. But the integration period afterwards was just as important. And she had to work with her guides on her own. And she had to do her own meditations and grounding energy to get her cycle back to what it needed to be. And within 3 months, it was the length of a normal menstrual cycle after releasing past life trauma and pain. Oh, I am behind on my messages. I saw that happen before without an integration period. Very important to have an integration period with things that are of this nature. So, and once again, this is not like advice or like medical advice for anyone to go and get a psychedelic trip. I'm just saying you have to, if you're going to do this, if you feel called to do it, you have to do it under the right circumstances. And you cannot do it, by yourself for the first time. It's very important to have this guide. I actually think so. In my home state of Oregon, it is legal to possess psilocybin. And I actually do think that in Portland, they are beginning to do certifications where you can be certified to use psychedelics for the purposes of therapy. And this could, the freaking research was stopped in the 60s or 70s or 80s or whatever. But this research is now continuing again with the properties and the healing properties of these chemicals and these compounds that can help you connect to yourself spiritually. And oh my God, I'm so excited to see what the future can bring with this. Oh, wow. Remember the war on drugs. Yeah, okay, yeah. So people, yeah, we get it. It's... How did I learn all of this? That's a good question. So I have been doing past life regression professionally for 5 years. I've had my own practice, my own business full-time for 3. And I trained with, it's been a long process for me to get here. I trained with some of the most reputable people in the industry, Dr. Brian Weiss, and I trained with Paul Oren as well. He's like a progeny of Dr. Michael Newton. So if you've ever read Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls, talks about, Michael Newton is a hypnotherapist that took people to the soul level, life between live sessions. I trained through these very reputable programs, but I've learned the majority of the things that I know from personal experience. So it's very important that to do the work that I'm doing, you do have to have a background in psychology and trauma and counseling, because what I'm dealing with on a daily basis can be some of the worst human experiences that you can have. Death of a child, death of a spouse, death yourself, trauma, sexual abuse, you name it, and it comes up because that's the trauma that our subconscious mind holds on to. So I had to have a master's degree to be qualified to enter these programs. But I also did my own intuitive development work, and I am a certified Reiki master. So I work with energy as well. That has helped in my career. So it's a long journey to get here. But the majority of the things that I'm talking about, I have experienced firsthand. So I'm telling you from my own sessions with people and clients. They are telling me and explaining things. They are channeling sometimes higher beings, angels, their higher selves, and they are giving me this information that I have accumulated over all of this time and just adding to this bank of knowledge that I can sometimes just spew out of somewhere. I don't know where it comes from. And I'm constantly learning. I am constantly amending things that I said before. Even maybe if you followed me from the beginning, I, had previously said that I had only connected to the fact that it's possible for us to have up to 500 lives. And since that has changed, we could have, 600, 700, 800 lives. It can constantly be amended. And so I'm in the place now where I feel that nothing is impossible, and I can't say with definitive, that this is impossible or whatever. I just have to say this is what I experience, and this is what is most, likely happening, and this is what the people that go through it are saying. And let me just say how incredibly privileged that I am, and how grateful that I am to be able to do this work, because I get to hear a lot of human history. I get to hear what happened that no one alive has conscious memory of from the people that lived it. I just think that's so freaking cool. Like, I'm obsessed with it. I don't think I'm ever going to take for granted how important this work is. I'm obviously very biased because I love it so much, but yeah, it's so magical. It's so healing. And it's so like satisfying to be able to help someone with something that they've been struggling with for their entire life in an hour and a half. Like, you get 20 some odd years sometimes of therapy condensed into one session because you realize why it's happening. You're not just talking about how it makes you feel and strategies to cope with it. You're realizing, I'm a spiritual being and I've experienced this kind of death before, which is why I signed up to have this experience this time, and then my life is this way because of my fear of this. And then once I let that go and realize I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, and I'm just here on this rock floating around for the time that I have, and I'm gonna make the best of it because I am a powerful creator connected to all that is. Oh my God. Give someone that realization and anything could be cured. Any mental illness, any physical illness, it could really change the world. So that's what I'm doing. Trying to change a little bit of the world. All right. Are you concerned for the future of humanity? I love this question, and you know what? I'm not. Because I want to tell you that when I first started doing this work, I was regressing a lot of older people. I don't really know why. I don't really know why, actually. When I first started working, I was regressing. First of all, every training program I ever did, I was the youngest one in the room. I'm just used to kind of being, around a lot of my colleagues are like significantly older than me, like in their 50s and 60s and 70s and even 80s. So like I've just always kind of worked with a demographic way older than me. I'm 32 right now. And so when I was in my, mid-20s, late 20s doing this work, like there was significant age difference. So as time has gone on, and I want to kind of pinpoint a time period around the pandemic, like 2020, the start of the pandemic, I started for the first time regressing people younger than even me. So regressing people that were younger than 30, younger than 25. I started doing like 18, 19, 20-year-olds. I don't regress anybody younger than 18 without parents' permission, and I only do like 16 and 17 with special circumstances and a parent permission. I do not regress children. And so when I started regressing younger people around the start of the pandemic, there was like a surge of these kids, these people that are being born, and they are here with such deep intention. They are not here to mess around. They are here to get stuff done. They are here to work. They're here to break down systems. They're here to change the world. They are here to take this world and make it something so beautiful and so more connected and so much more like loving and peaceful. And they are doing it like so graciously. They are wise souls that are being born into younger bodies more and more frequently. There are star seeds being born into bodies, like by the droves they are being born. I have regressed so many star seeds under the age of 23. Oh my God. I actually don't fear humanity's future. And I really want to urge you to reframe that even word fear for the future. I don't want to have kids because I don't want to leave this world to them. Like, that energy actually perpetuates a negative vibration in the collective consciousness of humanity. So when I'm saying like, I actually do not have fear of what's going to come, I don't watch the news. I don't let the negative energy on the planet that the news broadcasts to us every single day affect or cloud my feelings about what I know is possible and true, because that defeats the purpose of why we come down here and try to bring our light in the first place. We come here to bring our light, to create this heaven on earth, to be the creators that we are, and we see the beauty in this place. We see the trees, and we see the beautiful landscapes, and we see the people, and we see the animals. This is such a beautiful, like, awe-provoking place to be. And so when we nitpick And when we see the failing political systems and social systems that were created in ego-based consciousness, can we just like let that rest for a second? All of these institutions that we're talking about were created in an ego-based mindset. Power, control, domination, not spirituality, not heart-centered living, not speaking your truth from the truest expression of you. These systems that we as humans operate in were created in a very low vibrational consciousness. So let's just put that into perspective. So do I feel like a little discouraged sometimes because of how things are going? Of course, I'm a human on the planet, but I do not and cannot let that affect my judgment, feelings, optimism, sense of directed and focused energy on the future, because all I have seen so far from these younger kids that are being born is they are coming here to get shit done. They are coming here to do something very important. They're breaking down ego-based systems. We have a collective desire as a part of a human collective consciousness to bring forth a heart-centered way of life. And what does heart-centered living mean? It's this consciousness that exists when we are connected to our hearts and we are connected to our sense of worthiness and self and our soul, and then we connect to others that are feeling the same, and we actually bring light and life force energy and manifest it into physical reality. And so with that intention, these ego-based institutions are not sustainable long term. As population grows, as the political arena gets more and more crazy, I mean, just, let's put that on the sidelines, because those people are mid-level souls and they're going through their own karma by having to work out this shit. Just do not focus on it. Do not let it cloud your feelings of your own life or what's coming for the future, because your individual perspective matters in terms of what you think, how you feel, adds to the collective consciousness and the vibration of the earth right now. So then you want to focus on the things that are beautiful and amazing and odd and inspiring and artistic and creative and musical and blissful. By tapping into those frequencies, you are creating a more positive future for the next generations. So I love the question, because it's like, not only do I resonate with the future because of the new souls being born that are just no nonsense. Like, they're coming in with conscious memories of their past lives. They're coming in with high advanced ET knowledge and wisdom that they're merging with energy fields. Like, listening to these kids and their regressions is like, God, it's so hopeful. It just gives you such a breath of fresh air of we are not doomed. We are in good hands, okay? This is going to be fine. These kids are merging with energy fields of the things around them. I heard one of these, I call them kids because they're younger than me, but yeah, they're not really kids because they're really advanced. A 21-year-old woman connecting to, she's like, yeah, I'm doing it all the time. I'm merging with the plants, I'm merging with the minerals, I'm merging with the earth, I'm merging with the humans, and I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just doing it. It's happening. And I'm increasing the vibrational frequency of the things around me subconsciously. And it's happening all of the time because this is what I was designed to do, and this is why I'm here. And I'm completing an earth mission by doing this, because my star system and my the collective consciousness of where I'm from is focusing such positive energy on earth that this is the best way that I knew I could contribute, and I came here to do this, and I love it. I'm great at doing it. And to hear that from someone is like, pardon? You're doing what? You're merging with energy fields around you all of the time, and you're increasing the vibrational frequency so that earth can be a higher match to a more positive future? Wonderful. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for coming. So man, that was a great question, because I absolutely have so much faith in the future generations and what they're going to do here, and I don't think that we are doomed. And I know that by thinking and feeling in the way that I do about life, and really savoring, really feeling gratitude every time you see something beautiful and you are in nature, or you're noticing a beautiful moment with a parent or a child, or you're just getting to experience the beautiful parts of life, savor it, feel it, milk it. Let yourself feel it so deeply that it just becomes a part of your everyday life to do that, because when you focus your energy on these beautiful things, more and more and more gets created. To feel grateful is like the most attractive, like magnetic vibration that only adds increase, only adds abundance. Gratitude and feeling grateful for what currently exists in your personal life, but also in life as a whole, in humanity as a whole, it's a magnetic vibration. It has so much magnitude that it literally puts you into a vibrational state of harmony with who you truly are. All right. Thank you. That was so sweet. Okay, can I talk about heaven more? So heaven is not one place. There's a little bit of misconception about what heaven, I mean, first of all, I'll talk about what hell is not a place. Hell is a state of mind. But when we talk about heaven, everyone goes to someplace different. I'm not sure if you know that. I had to learn it too, that we don't all go to the same place, because, in religion, we're taught that we all go to this beautiful afterlife and everyone's there at the pearly gates and they all, having a rendezvous, and that's just not what happens. Because it depends on our individual state of consciousness is where we are a vibrational match to and where we go on the other side. Earth is a melting pot of all different vibrations, energies, frequencies, and we're all here together. And so the highest of the high vibrational people can also come into contact at some point in life with someone very, very low. Not how it happens on the other side. Pardon me. We die from our life, from our bodies. We are rejoining the whole of our soul, and we go to the vibration that we are able to perceive. So when I talk about vibrational rate, like it's kind of like how you can't perceive certain colors because it's a frequency outside of the range that our eyes are able to perceive. Same thing with our state of consciousness. Sometimes our consciousness is lower, so it cannot perceive a higher rate of consciousness. Just the same thing with like a dog whistle. We cannot perceive the sound that a dog whistle makes, but they can. It's out of our range of perception. I want you to think about that when you are translating it to heaven. So where you go depends on your state of consciousness, depends on what you are able to perceive. So then, throughout your karmic cycle on Earth, you eventually acquire more and more wisdom, more and more consciousness, more and more knowledge. You increase your vibrational frequency so that you're a match to a higher state on the other side when you pass away. So then you and your soulmates and your soul pod progress life to life to life, and you grow. You increase your vibrational state, rejoining the whole. And so that's why you are going to go to a different place when you're a younger soul than when you're an older soul. So I hope that can make sense. So I want to describe like what the physical attributes are of heaven are, because this is what people are telling me they're going to, and people are not going to the same places. So I have had it described as I am in a library, I am in a courtroom, I am in a classroom, I am in a garden, I am in what looks like the Colosseum, I am in space. Depending on if you're a starseed, I can't really give that example. I'm not going to give the example of other planets. I'm just going to give the example of people who are incarnating on Earth multiple times, and they're passing away and they're going into the spirit world. So it depends where you are vibrationally, depends what your surroundings look like. And yeah, it's really beautiful to get to see the different vibrational places and the different spaces that make up the heaven for people. For souls. And so I do want to say though that typically if I don't work with I haven't worked with any baby souls, so brand new souls. I have not worked with any. They're just not finding my work. That's just not a focus of their life. I typically work with mid-level souls and on. So when I am working with a mid-level soul, I am more likely to go to a regimented classroom environment or a place where it is more guided, more, think about it like more structured than when I'm working with an older, wiser soul. They don't really have anyone that's overseeing them and telling them what to do necessarily, so they can have more free will. I hope, not free will, have more freedom of choice. So, I mean, the places that these people describe is amazing. They're describing these gardens, and they're describing these libraries, and they're describing what the Akashic records look like to them. They're describing what their guides look like and what the Council of Elders looks like. Okay, so we may not go to where our loved ones who have passed before us have gone. Technically, that is true, although the loved ones that we have in our life right now that we love the most are probably in the same vibrational setting or place that we are. It's very rare for someone to never experience a deeply felt connection to a loved one on the other side permanently. But as I said before, your loved ones help you transition to the other side very frequently. So your grandparents or your parents or your siblings or whoever has passed before you who helps you transition. It doesn't matter what vibrational state they're in. It doesn't matter if they're your soul mates, your soul family or not. They're going to be there to help you acclimate regardless, and you will see them again. So rest assured, even if you need extra time with them, I've had people that pass away from their lives and they say, I am not ready to join my soul group. I'm not ready to do, I need to heal and I need to be with this person. And I will give you a really beautiful example. I had a woman who regressed to a past life where she lost her husband very early on into their marriage, was left with 2 young children to raise, very distraught by this. This person was her primary soulmate. And his death was so hard for her. She carried it through her whole life, and she needed that extra time. So as soon as she passed away, she spent a lot of time with him, and she made sure that it was, enough time where they felt comfortable, where it was healing and helping, because she wasn't ready to just move on and say goodbye. So it's up to us. We have the choice, and we can have what we need when we pass away, especially after a long, taxing, painful life. I was told I have witch blood in me from generations of witches. So I do want to talk about this really quickly. You are a perfect vibrational match to your body based on genetic lineage and also karmic lineage. People ask me all the time, why did I inherit my generational trauma? It's not mine. I inherited it. It's someone else's. They pass it on to me. It's not how it works, because you would not be a vibrational match to that body in that time, to that trauma, if it didn't have relevance to you at some point in your karmic history. It's relevant to you. It's an intersection between your karmic past and your genetic lineage you're inheriting. So when people are inheriting a genetic lineage that is very intuitive, it's not by accident. There's something that's bringing you into the body of an intuitive person. And it does run in families. I do want to say that. There's a genetic component to intuitive ability, to psychic ability. It runs in families. And typically a grandmother or a grandfather will have it, and then it will be passed on, and it will be in the family. So that is true. And so your soul family progresses together. Yes, they do. They progress together, and they want to progress together. They want to be together. And just, this is like a little tidbit of information about soul families. You as a soul family member, as a collective soul family group, you do not want to leave anyone behind. So what happens is, if the soul family is progressing and 1 or 2, even 3 members of the family are not, it's a very common experience. Pretty much everyone, I would argue, on earth has had this dynamic at some point. Will volunteer, another member of the family will volunteer, or a couple members, to come into life and help them work on those lessons that they need to advance. And very often those people come into life and play antagonistic roles so that the person will learn. And this is the case with a few of my clients just very recently, where it's like, can you please learn so I can stop being a jerk to you? Can you please advance? Because they don't want to leave you behind. Thank you for the rose. they don't want to leave you behind. They want you to come with them. So, with the exception, there's one exception to leaving soul mates behind. Not behind, that's a wrong way to phrase it. But there is an exception to when a soul family member is going to branch off and join another soul family, and that is a case where one or two people in the soul family are progressing at such a fast rate, it would not benefit the expansion of their soul to remain with their current soul family, so that they advance and they go through life and they join a new soul family that they are at the same level of consciousness with. That's the only really way that you get separated. It's not something you ever want to do, is to leave a family member behind. You want to help them and teach them and incarnate with them and help them grow and advance so that you all can advance together. The only exception being when someone or two people are progressing so fast they can't wait and they just have to kind of go into a new pod. I hope that can make sense. So if you do resonate with me as a practitioner, you can book a session, a past life regression session, spiritual regression session, right on my website, MallorieShannon.com. My link is in my bio. I also have a Connect to Your Spirit Guides workbook. I finally released it after 6 months of putting it off, and I got it out there so it can help you connect to your own spirit guides. And it's a 67-page interactive workbook that you can kind of do and take your time with it, because I wish, as I said it before, I wish I had this when I was connecting to my guides. It would have been really helpful, but still it's a very important like step-by-step progression of how you can connect to guides. It's available at my Etsy store. I was not about to like look into e-commerce websites. I'm not a really business savvy person. So it's on Etsy. But I'm going to get off because I'm starving. And I am going to be on again next weekend. I'm not sure if I'm going to be on Saturday or on Sunday. Not Friday, but Saturday or Sunday possibly. I enjoyed this so much. Thank you so much for all of your questions, for all of your support. It's been absolutely wonderful. If you can take anything away from this, other than some of the interesting things, about past life regression and some information on souls, take away the feeling that, listen, it is May. It is a new start, a fresh beginning. There's so much positive energy surrounding you. Go into nature tomorrow. Sit by a tree. Talk to yourself. Start to feel connected to yourself in a more profound way. This shift in energy, even slight, has such a dramatic impact. Thank you so much, Deanna. On your rest of your day, on what's in the creation, in the creative realm for you. Try to feel connected to your soul as much as you can. Try a meditation routine. If you feel inspired, book a session, book a regression, do a psychedelic trip. Try your best to look at every aspect of life as though there is something to be learned. There is something to be beautiful, to be discovered. And hold a frequency of gratitude in your being, because that is the most powerful way you can tap into the highest potential that you have. Gratitude is magnetic. So thank you so much. Oh my gosh, you guys are so sweet. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Melissa, Jillian, everyone. Oh my gosh, this is wonderful. Thank you so much. I hope you have a oh my God. Oh my gosh, you're embarrassing me. It's so sweet. Thank you, Christy, everyone. Oh my gosh. So this was just wonderful. It was lovely. I'm so happy I got to connect to you, and I need to be more active on TikTok. I need to create, oh my gosh, those roses. I need to create more content on TikTok. I have some more things in the works too. So just stay tuned. And if you really liked listening, then be on next week. I'm going to do another live again on the weekend sometime. Typically on Pacific time, I do lives from 7 to around 9 Pacific time. So adjust that to your time zone. And once again, if you want to learn more, you can just tap into my bio. So, all right, I want to see you guys next week. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. All right, goodbye.